This year, the Russians will influence our elections. They do it by hacking, botting, fake news, and exploiting the current cracks in our American discourse, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. Well, there is, but Satan's little brother, Moscow Mitch, has blocked it because secure elections don't help the Republican Party.
Twice in the last 24 hours, Senate Republicans have blocked legislation aimed at boosting election security.
In order to understand how Russia will impact the 2020 election, you have to know what happened in 2016. The summary most have is that Russia interfered in the US election by running Facebook ads and hacking the DNC. While this is a true assessment, it severely underplays what actually happened. It's important to remember that Russian interference is the social media and hacking aspect of what happened in 2016. It's different from the Russian collusion that happened with the Trump campaign in 2016. That's the thing that involves Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Carter Page, and George Papadopoulos. You might know them as traitors or as the cast of the new Brady Bunch spinoff.
That's the way we all became the Brady Bunch, the Brady Bunch, the Brady.
All intelligence assessments on the interference campaign have shown that the disinformation interference campaign was directed by Vladimir Putin himself. The Kremlin had a three-pronged approach to election interference in 2016. Prong 1, propaganda through social media. Prong 2, hacking state election systems. And Prong 3, political hacks. This will be a 4-part series. The first 3 parts will address each prong of the interference, with the 4th discussing what it'll look like in 2020 and what to look out for. Before we get into the video, happy 4th of July to my American viewers, which is most of you, and shout out to my British viewers who have to remember when their mighty navy lost to a bunch of farmers led by a dude with wooden teeth. Also, let's talk about our sponsor today. Today's sponsor is face masks. Mask it or casket. Use the link down below to buy one. Masks. The only thing keeping you 6 feet above ground. In 2016, there's a good chance that you fell for fake news or Russian propaganda. Okay, hold on. Can you pan the camera away, please? Just a quick sidebar. Look, I know Zoomers, millennials, it doesn't happen to us, but let's just act like it happens to us because it'll make the boomers feel better. They make up 18% of the channel's viewers. Shh, keep it low. They can't hear us at this decibel. As I was saying, Russia created fake Facebook groups that centered around stoking the flames of race and promoting anti-government sentiment. The pages were designed to look like it was run by real Americans. Here's an example of a group that you could have seen if you were conservative. It's clear that they were trying to stoke xenophobia in those who carry those tendencies. They created 3 other groups called South United, Being Patriotic, and Secured Borders. They use this to amplify right-wing extremism. They push anti-government narratives and push for violence. The Being Patriotic Facebook group posted Black Lives Matter activists who disrespected the American flag should be immediately shot. The Secured Border Facebook page told its viewers that the only way to deal with illegal immigrants is to kill them all. The alt-right campaign didn't just stop online, however. It carried over to the real world too.
Russians pretending to be Trump organizers also reached out to Harry Miller in Boynton Beach, Florida, paying him to build a cage large enough to hold an actress depicting Clinton in prison uniform. This is the cage the Russians paid for. By phone, he says he learned about his unwitting involvement from the FBI, and now believes it was Russians who called him on the phone, paid him between $500 to $1,000 to build his cage.
How could you be embarrassed? They had that beautiful website. They very supportive of the candidates. There was nothing at all to lend you to think that it's anything other than people trying to support a candidate.
So what makes this so incredible is that this was a completely random guy, and some random Russians slid into his DMs and were like, we'll pay you to make a cage, and he said how high. If the Russians stopped here, they would have already gone too far. Stoking the flames of racism in a powder keg like America is a great way to cause enough chaos, as we see with the current president. But Russia didn't stop there. Russia formed a Facebook group called Black Matters. There was another one called Blacktivist, and on Instagram it was called Blackstagram, where they shared almost exclusively videos of the police killing unarmed black people and giving calls to action by suggesting that the group's followers should kill police officers in retaliation. This is a prime example of the Russians exploiting divides that already exist in our current country and stoking the flames. Please don't misconstrue this as me saying that Russia manufactured Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is combating real racism, injustice, and inequality that exists in our country. These issues exist in this country, and they were created by us due to a long history of white people refusing to live up to the defining words of the birth of this country. These issues are real, and they're affecting real people. These protests are done by real Americans who have had enough and want to change the racist system that we currently have. Russia's Facebook pages in 2016 and now in 2020 are exploiting the situation by adding emotion and disinformation to the whole circumstance to inflame tensions. When they weren't trying to promote violence, they tried to decrease black turnout, sharing memes and fake articles of lines like "Our votes don't matter," "Don't vote for Hillary Clinton," "A vote for Jill Stein is not a wasted vote." They would create fake protests that people would show up and start protesting at. The most notable one is one revolving around Eric Gardner. They often would book Black Matter protests in the same location and time as racist protests in hopes of creating violence between the two groups that they had been emotionally amplifying for months. This tactic was effective too. When two groups of protesters start brawling, the police often end up with the task of breaking it up. So we'll see from 2000 to 2015, there were 33 violent clashes between protesters and police. In 2016, there were 24.
Jim, what are we looking at right now? What are you saying?
Yeah. Yes, Aaron, I am off camera right now because I want to show you this. We've turned the camera around, panning around to the back of the arena. This is becoming violent. There is pushing and shoving going on inside this arena. People are throwing objects. Police are now escorting some protesters. We don't know if they're Trump supporters or protesters being led out of this arena right now. But just moments ago, a very large crowd of supporters, protesters, media, it was simply rocking back and forth. As my camera just panned back over, you could see this large section of protesters I was referring to earlier. They're now shouting, "Bernie, Bernie," obviously in support of Bernie Sanders. Aaron, I've just never seen anything like this. This place has just erupted. Now you're hearing Donald Trump people on the other side of the arena yelling, "Trump, Trump, Trump." The security does not have a handle on the situation here. It is total chaos.
A key part of the Russian propaganda machine was to add fake news links to groups that already were built. This one in particular is a play on the George Soros manufactures all civil disobedience in the United States genre, but you can tell it's fake by the .co after the .com. You can also tell by the fact that someone was paid to do something that a lot of people would just do for free. Also, anyone who was able to read these articles would know that it was fake. However, I myself am also guilty of this. People often just read the headlines, that's what they believe then, and then they just keep scrolling. And so in that nature, it's effective. While the overall goal was chaos, inside the chaos there was a focus, and that was assisting Donald Trump. You have to read between the lines a bit, but it's there. By emboldening racists and amplifying them, they were able to push more us versus them, which was Trump's primary rhetoric. What they did with Black Lives Matter was also an attempt to help Trump. Right now, 53% of Americans approve of Black Lives Matter, but it wasn't always like that. In 2016, 27% of Americans approved of Black Lives Matter. By amplifying Black Lives Matter, the Russians attempted to tap into white racism, and if they were successful, they had Facebook groups waiting for them where they would show these people content that was getting more and more extreme as election day got closer. Russia constantly dumped gasoline on these pre-existing tensions. This is no small order. Wars have been fought over much less. Putin has routinely denied these allegations, saying free-spirited hackers might have awakened in a good mood one day and spontaneously decide to contribute to the fight against those who say bad things about Russia. Kind of like when he said that random Russians just one day decide to annex Crimea, or fight in Syria, or fight in Venezuela. Putin is of course lying, as all levels of intelligence in America and in Europe has concluded that Russia didn't just influence the American election this way, but they also influenced the Brexit election and the most recent elections in the UK, Sweden, France, Germany, and the European Parliament. With things already inflamed as they are in America, you might be thinking we have to stop this before Russia convinces Trump voters to resurrect General Lee. And you would be right. The Center of American Progress has created recommendations for the US to follow if we're going to have a fair election. The first recommendation is that the most important deterrent and mitigating factor is a forceful government response. This would entail sending Moscow a clear bipartisan message to keep away or risk severe punishment, including crippling sanctions. The second recommendation is that countries should develop situational awareness among voters. Public awareness about foreign influence campaigns is probably the most single most important defense against such interference and an essential tool towards building a resilient democracy. The third recommendation is that the government must notify citizens whenever foreign interference is detected. The fourth and final recommendation is that the government needs to force media companies to refuse to quote stolen material that has clearly been released as part of an influence operation by a foreign power, as this creates a reward or incentive for Russia to hack and release stolen information. Thank you, that's our show for today. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Do these steps go too far? Do they not go far enough? Part 2 will be coming out soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.